guys, welcome back to another reading video. I am just gonna do a little cozy reading vlog this week as part of the Fall Diaries reading vlogs. I have been reading this month, but the book I've been reading was like 900 pages and I honestly just took forever to read it. I was reading the latest book in the Robert Galbraith series called The Hallmarked Man. I love that series, by the way, but I just did not feel like vlogging my experience with it. I needed to just kind of hunker down and like really concentrate on the book because it does take a lot more effort to read those. But I am finally back and I am ready to read more from my fall TBR, and I'm so excited to pick up a new book today. There's something so satisfying about finishing a book and then picking up a new one, and it's been so long since I've done that because I've been reading an extremely long book. If you're new here, my name is Shelby. I love to read. I love sharing all the cozy, homey, bookish things with you. I love just sharing my realistic reading experiences, and I am so glad that you're here, so thank you for being here. I hope that you enjoy. Make sure to stick around by subscribing and liking the video. Now let's get into the rest of this video, which is me picking a new book. I actually have two library books with me. They're both very different. The first one is The Chain by Adrienne McKenty. This is a thriller, and I'm already leaning towards no for now on this one because I just finished reading a mystery thriller. And then the other one is Angels of the Resistance by Noelle Salazar. I believe that's how you say it. This book was recommended to me by my friend Carly. I actually met her on Book Talk and I followed her on Book Talk, but she has since started posting on YouTube. She has amazing historical fiction recommendations, but she shared her World War II specific like favorite ones in one of her recent videos, and I got a lot of ideas from that because I love World War II historical fiction. But Angels of the Resistance was recommended if you liked The Nightingale. Apparently this is a sister story, so I have been in the mood to read this. It's on my fall TBR, and I was really excited to find it at my library because I'm trying to not buy books right now. Not an official ban, I just have stopped buying books, and it's more special when I do get to buy them. But I really wanted to prioritize using my library as well, and I have been really bad about doing that. So we're gonna start Angels of the Resistance. This, it sounds like it's gonna be a sister story where the sisters are joining the Dutch resistance as the Nazis are invading the Netherlands or taking over the Netherlands, and I love a book like that. I heard this is also fast-paced. It's not too terribly long. It looks like it's just around 400 pages, so I'm so excited to get into this. But the first thing I need to do is actually make a coffee because I haven't had a coffee yet today and I really need one. So what we're gonna do is make a coffee, and then I'm gonna sit down and start this book. I also want to say that I believe the beginning of my last video I was wearing this exact same shirt. I promise I've been wearing different outfits, but this shirt is just so comfy I had to wear it. I've already run into a quote that I love, not even a whole page, and this girl is sitting like in a field against a tree reading a book, and she says, "I glanced down at the book in my hands and the paragraph I'd read at least a dozen times without retaining one word. Unfortunately, sometimes running from my own thoughts by feeding my brain new information didn't work." That is so true, so true. I feel like that so much. It is actually the next day. I am wearing the same shirt again because I am a chronic re-wearer of outfits and it wasn't necessarily dirty, so I'm wearing it again. But I have a reading update for you. I have been reading Angels of the Resistance. I am now on page 72, which is chapter 5. So I've read a decent amount in order to like get into the book, and I can't lie, the writing took me a minute to kind of get used to, and I think that honestly I don't think it's the book's fault. I think it's just because the last book I was reading that for so long that I'm having to like retrain my mind to read different styles of writing. So now that I'm really into this, I am enjoying it. I did discover that this is YA historical fiction, which is very interesting because I found this in the adult fiction section at my library. The way that it's written, and also on Goodreads when you scroll all the way down and it tells you like the genres at the bottom, it has YA in there, so which is not entirely a bad thing because I have loved YA historical fiction in the past. It's just something new that I discovered about the book. But we are still following the two main characters. It's really following this girl named Lien, spelled L-I-E-N. I'm assuming that you say Lien, and her sister, but it's all from the perspective of Lien so far, unless they change perspectives later on. It's really just kind of getting to know this city, this town that she's living in, and all the people that are in her life that she's involved with in her community. The actual plot stuff is just now starting to pick up, but we're kind of getting to know Lien, what's going on in her personal life, the grief that she's struggling with, as well as how she's connected to all these people around her in the town. Underground resistance part of this story I think is about to start happening, so I am very excited to be reading this book. I decided that I am going to not consume any media this week. I really just need a break. Like, my brain feels very overloaded, and so I just need a break from consuming. So my goal for this week, or the rest of this week, is to use my devices only for creating, and I will use Pinterest if I need to find a recipe or something, but I'm not gonna consume any videos or post. I'm very excited to have that break. So this will also help me to read more, hopefully. I really want to get back to reading. I read a little bit this morning, but I have 2 baskets of laundry behind me that I have been needing to fold for longer than I would like to admit. So this is me challenging myself to fold this really quick because it won't take me very long. Then I can reward myself with reading my book. After that clip of me folding laundry, I got a super bad headache. I had to just basically lay down for a little bit, but I'm feeling better and I'm really wanting some pumpkin bread. So before I sit and read, I think I'm gonna make some pumpkin bread, and I'm very excited. I have yet to make pumpkin bread this season. I've made other pumpkin things, but not actual bread. So let's make some pumpkin bread together. Okay, it is the next day. I am currently sitting in my car at the library, and this is a very weird angle because there's a lady sitting in the car next to me and I'm too embarrassed to hold the camera up in an obvious way, but I am meeting a friend at the library and I'm very excited. I need to return a couple things, and I also just want to see what they have. I kind of want to look on my TBR like wish list and see if I can find any books here to read this fall. I'm really trying to lean into using my library more. I always kind of struggled with it because if I ever read a book and I love it, I always regret not having bought the book, and I hate buying books that I've already read. It's just so annoying to me for some reason. And so I'm trying to pick up books at the library that I think I'm gonna enjoy but potentially won't want to keep. And I think that maybe thrillers are a good way to do that, because with most thrillers I'm not gonna reread them because once you know the end, it's just spoiled, you know? So I'm hoping maybe I can find some thrillers and things like that that maybe I'm interested in, but I don't know if I'm gonna fully love it. I really want to buy books that I anticipate will be 5 stars, but I want to borrow books that I think won't be, if that makes any sense. So anyway, let's go into the library. So I didn't film in the library. Honestly, I kind of got distracted just talking and walking around with my friend, but I also felt very awkward doing that. So I need to work on being able to film in public. The second disclaimer is that my husband is like on the other side of this wall playing a game, and you might be able to hear him. If anybody else is a reader, gamer, couple duo, let me know, because there are so many funny, relatable things about that. But I'm gonna do a little library haul. The first thing that I picked up is Kate and Frida by Kim Fay. This is the next book by Kim Fay. I have loved Love and Saffron by her, and so I'm kind of highly anticipating this, and I just read like the first page of it and I already know I'm gonna love it, but I have a feeling that I'm gonna want to annotate this and underline words and stuff. So I'm contemplating actually buying this for myself and not reading the library copy, but regardless, it's still fun to kind of take it home and look at it, and it helps me decide if I want to own it for myself or if I want to use the library. The next one is The Wood at Midwinter by Susanna Clark. I have never heard of this book. I picked it up because it's so tiny and so beautiful, and I think that it's a short story interconnected in the world of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I've never read that book. Honestly, not interested in reading that book, but something about like a quick little like cozy fantasy-esque story sounded like it might be fun if I need like a palate cleanser, because as you'll see, I've been really wanting to read historical fiction and thrillers, which I love in the fall, but sometimes I need like a palate cleanser, and romance is just not for me, especially in the fall. So anyway, this has beautiful illustrations in it that I am very excited to see how it's gonna play into the story. So anyway, there's that one. Next, I've got two historical fiction books. This one I found on the new releases shelf in the front of my library, called The Mademoiselle Alliance by Natasha Lester. Looks like this is gonna be a 1936 Paris historical fiction. Honestly, I was very drawn to this book for the cover because it doesn't follow the same style as most historical fiction novels. I have talked about this. I think I made a short like reel or something talking about the fact that historical fiction, all the covers look the same and they're also kind of cheesy, honestly, and so I can understand how it could deter people from wanting to read it because it looks like it would be cheesy. But if you find good ones, they really have a lot of depth and you learn a lot because it is historical fiction. So I was really drawn to this from the cover, and I didn't realize that it's actually historical fiction until I started reading about it because the cover is just so different from most of them. And then the other one is The German Heiress by Annika Scott. This sounds very interesting to me because other than reading Waltraud, which was from the perspective of a young girl growing up in Nazi Germany, I've never read World War II historical fiction where the main character is German, actually. So I'm very interested to see what this is going to be about because I have no idea if I'm going to be rooting for the main character or not. It's going to be interesting to read, but it looks very good. So I pulled this off the shelf. And now I've got some thrillers. The first one is The Couple at Number 9 by Claire Douglas. Honestly, I barely even read the synopsis of this, but someone I follow on YouTube, she talks about Claire Douglas all the time, how she loves her as a thriller writer. I don't know if she's gonna be for me, but I am very curious, and sometimes you just want a quick, classic thriller, so I picked this up. And then the other one is two from the same author. I've got The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. I love The Sundown Motel by this author a couple years ago, and I actually started reading this on audio, but at the time it wasn't working for me, and it's actually a lot shorter than I thought it would be. It's like barely 300 pages. I'm excited to read this. This also I think is historical because it takes place in the 1920s, so it's going to be a 1920s historical ghost story type thing. This might be perfect for me as a historical fiction lover. And then we've got Murder Road by the same author. This one takes place in the 90s, and I didn't read the synopsis at all, so there's my husband laughing. I didn't read the synopsis at all, so I've had this actually on hold on Libby for forever, and I always keep saying not ready, not ready, not ready, but maybe holding the physical copy will help. So that is my little library haul. I am drinking an iced latte. I got the Pebble Ice from Chick-fil-A for like $2. You can get a bag of it. I know people have told me this before, but I just somehow remember today, and it's perfect. It's perfect to put in this iced latte. So I'm gonna sit and enjoy this. I'm gonna read my book. I'm so tired today and I feel like my energy is really low, so hopefully this video is not boring. I thought this was going to be a fun kind of like, I don't know, energetic little video, and I am just not feeling that type of energy, so I'm just being honest and real. I've got like an hour-ish before I need to get ready to go. We're going to our friend's house tonight and I haven't read basically at all today. I'm gonna finally sit down and read. I am on page 107 and I'm gonna set the timer for 1 hour. Hey guys, it is the next day and I have been busy. We went to some friend's house last night. We were up late. This morning I've been very productive though. I slept in a little bit, but then I went on a walk and I had breakfast in a quiet time, and then I've been cleaning my house while listening to the audiobook of Angels of the Resistance. I've been using Spotify to listen to the audiobook, and this is not sponsored at all. I just really love the audiobook feature of Spotify. I've been listening to Angels of the Resistance on there because it's actually not available on my library. I use Libby for audiobooks sometimes, but they didn't have it. So I've been listening to that. I'm on chapter 22 now. Let me see what page that is. That's page 266. That means I've read over 100 pages today because I was on page 156 and then I listened to like 110 pages worth. I'm gonna try to finish this book today because I'm not necessarily loving this book. It feels very YA to me. And I've read YA historical fiction before, but just something about this feels a little bit too YA for me personally. I will probably share my full thoughts when I finish the book, but what I'm gonna do right now is put my headphones back on and continue listening to this. I'm gonna do a few more chores, and then I think that I'm gonna do something crafty because I'm just feeling it. I've been wanting to make some more fall bookmarks. Last fall I made this really cute pumpkin bookmark and there's a gold ink around it. I don't know if you can see that. I actually borrowed that from a friend, so I don't have any gold anymore, but I just think it'd be fun to do something kind of crafty and creative while listening to the audiobook. Alright, I have been listening to the rest of Angels of the Resistance, which I'll talk about in a second. First I want to say the lighting is super weird right now, so hopefully you can see what I'm even doing. I want to show you the bookmarks I made. So I made 2 fall bookmarks. This one is just fall foliage and I love how whimsical it is, and then we've got pumpkins on a vine for this one, so it's very fun to have seasonal bookmarks. I also have been coloring. I colored this page. I feel like there's some other things I need to do on it, but it was fun just to color. This is the one that I've got. It's from Amazon. I think it was like $7 or something. So now let me talk about Angels of the Resistance. Just finished this. I am rating it 2.5. Honestly, that's not that bad of a rating because 5 stars is the max, so it's like right in the middle. But this was very YA to me, and my thoughts are kind of torn because this came across more like it was about the main character, Lean. It was spelled I-L-I-E-N. And I thought it was Leanne, but on the audiobook, she says Lean. So this was about Lean, and I was told that this is a sister story, and it is a lot about sisters, but we're only following one person's perspective. And so it felt like it was more just about one of the sisters. This sort of not bothered me, but I feel like the historical element kind of took a back seat with this book. When I read historical fiction, I obviously want to love the characters, but I really use historical fiction to learn and to just learn about different times of history that I never lived in. And so while this was taking place in a historical setting, I feel like the historical part sort of took a back seat, and it was more so about Leanne and the people that she's meeting with this underground resistance. And a lot of it was about their work and their training and all this kind of stuff, and it felt kind of too like girl power to me. There was even some comments about how she got her hands on a Wonder Woman comic book and she wanted to prove herself to be like a Wonder Woman type figure as far as working the resistance goes. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, it just was not for me. And so other books that I've read that I loved a lot more than this was The Alice Network, for one. This is following a group of women who are all spies. They're in France, and it talks a lot about their work, but it's really it has more of like a somber note, and it's a lot about the historical side and kind of the nitty-gritty of that. And then with codename Helene, it's following one woman as she goes through the different codenames that she has to use for her resistance work as she's like working with the actual army. So these two had great characters, but it was really heavy on the historical side, which is what I really love with historical fiction. I think that that's the main reason that this didn't hit so hard for me, because it felt like it was just about Lene and her, you know, abilities to, you know, the skills that she had, she was taught from her father, and the things that she learned as far as being this like spy basically. But the historical side, it was like there was a lot more talk about Lene and all the stuff that she was doing, and then there would be like one or two paragraphs about like, oh, this is all that's been happening with the historical side, what the Nazis were doing, you know, once America joined the war, and like all this kind of stuff. So it felt like the historical part was just kind of brushed through, and it was a lot more about her, and she is just trying to like prove herself. She doesn't like, at the beginning of the book, she doesn't like that she's told she's too young to work through the resistance. So there was a lot of like proving yourself kind of vibes, and her trying to show that she's capable of working with the resistance. There was talk about grief too, but that took more time in this book, talking about her struggles with this grief element, the actual like war, and it kind of, I feel like the balance was a little bit off. So 2.5. I usually don't do half-star ratings, but 3 felt like too much and 2 felt like too little, so 2.5 for me for this. I don't regret reading it. I think that some readers might like it if you want something quick. I read this in like 3 days. I read like 250 pages of this today on audiobook, so it was very easy to read and I don't regret it, and I always love discovering historical fiction, so I'm glad that I read it, but it was not my favorite. I just picked up The Chain for my next book. I read the first 2 chapters, and it's very quick, short chapters, only 350 pages. I'm in the mood for something quick, like a thriller, to read this weekend, and this is on my fall TBR, so this will be 2 library books back to back and accomplishing my TBR for the fall, which is great. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to read tonight, because in a little bit I need to make dinner, and then my husband and I are doing a movie date night at home, which is gonna be really fun. But having said that, I probably won't read a ton of this today. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get to read a good bit, because other than getting coffee with a friend in the morning, I don't have any plans. So I'm excited to finally read this. I've heard so many good things about it. I'm here to finish out this video with a reading update. After my last clip, I started reading The Chain, and I got 30% into it before I decided to DNF. I could not care less about what was happening in this, and I'm kind of disappointed, because this was one of my highly anticipated thriller reads for the fall. I do feel like I feel some sort of sense of accomplishment with it, because I am checking off my actual fall TBR. Started it, and it was intriguing at first, and then I just couldn't care, and I went to, the book is set in 2 parts, so I went to the end of the first part to see if it looked like there was going to be any sort of cliffhanger or like big shocking moment, because if so, then it might have intrigued me enough to finish the book. And instead what I saw was a intimate scene, and I don't like reading those, especially in thrillers. Like, that felt very, it wasn't needed at all to have that in a thriller book. So I ended up looking up the spoilers and what happened at the end, and it was like literally the dumbest plot ever. So if you read this and you loved it, I'm so happy for you, and I would really love to know why you liked it, because I just didn't really understand the hype from this book. So I did that, and then I read started and read this book in 20 minutes. It's only 60 pages and each page has a lot of illustrations and the words are pretty big, or there's hardly any words at all on it. But I've never read Susanna Clarke before. I honestly don't have a huge interest in reading her other books. She's really known for Pure Nessie. I didn't really know what to expect, but this was kind of like a whimsical fairy tale for adults, and then the author's note at the end really showed what she was going for with this book, and I really enjoyed it. So this was kind of fun, little palate cleanser thing. And what I'm currently reading, Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is on my fall TBR. I started this last night. I'm only 20 pages in, but I have missed his writing so much. So if this is your first video of mine, something you should know about me is I love historical fiction and I love reading Stephen King. And I love reading almost everything else, but every time I pick up a Stephen King book, I just can't stop reading. So that is what I'm planning to do with the rest of my day. I had church this morning and we have nothing going on the rest of the day. So I'm gonna sit down and read this, and I'm so excited to get more into this book. I have never read a true horror. I think this is gonna be my first true horror book, but I already love the character work that Stephen King is doing only in the first 20 pages. So this is my final update for this video, and I'm gonna wrap it up here. So thank you so much for watching this video. It is truly making my day to talk about books with you, and it means so much that you're here. So I hope that you'll like and subscribe for next time, and I can't wait to talk about books with you again in the future. Bye friends.